Roger, like you, I've sort of seen it disappear a little bit from the radar. I know not only are we late with the agriculture white paper, but also a lot of those regional communities seem to be almost taken for granted. I don't know whether it's a safe seat syndrome or that there's a focus somewhere else, but I do know that ever since Whitlam there's been this kind of philosophical divide in Australian politics as to whether the federal government should have a really big role in urban and regional development, or whether it ought to just hand it back and say that that's someone else's problem. I do think that strong regions are really important. My family had a third share at a farm at Yakandanda, and one of the reasons that they bought that share in the farm was a Whitlam government idea that there would be a campus of the University of Sydney sitting in Albury-Wodonga. And that came out of a Whitlam inspiration to try and make sure that we had more and more regional population centres in Australia. It's good for the regions, but it's also good for the cities. One of the reasons Australia has higher house prices relative to income than lots of other countries is we've got our population in too few cities. A country of 23 million ought to have a couple more cities than we do. I think there's a federal government role in trying to grow those regional centres and trying to bring down the unaffordability of housing in the cities at the same time. Yeah, I think you've got to continue that road investment. I think that is important in the cities and between them. But ultimately, as cities get bigger and bigger, you look at big international cities, whether it's London or Tokyo or New York. One of the things that characterises them is terrific public transport systems. A federal government that says that there's no federal role for urban public transport is, I think, missing the chance to improve the quality of life in a really important way for residents of those cities. There were mistakes made under the last Labor government. I'm certainly not going to claim that we're perfect. But one of the things I'm proud of is that federal government spent more on urban public transport than all the other governments since Federation combined. And projects like Melbourne Metro and the investment in the Perth public transport system were aimed at trying to stop congestion. At the same time, we doubled the road spending and quadrupled the rail spending because you've got to be investing in transport in a country like ours. Whenever you hear the coalition say, "Oh, this is terrible, Australia's got all this debt, we didn't get anything for it," you've got to remember that the reason we invested in the global financial crisis wasn't just to save a couple of 100,000 jobs and tens of thousands of small businesses. It was also a chance to build a whole lot of infrastructure projects that outlast the global financial crisis. So we wouldn't just have higher unemployment if we hadn't done that, we'd also have worse infrastructure.